Welcome to this interview with Lisa Blakeney, owner, Vocation Validation in Pasadena, Maryland. This is one of our vocational evaluation experts, and this presentation will be provided in 3 separate parts. We'll begin with part 1. Please tell us a little bit about who you are and what your current employment situation currently is.
My name's Lisa Blakeney. I'm a certified vocational evaluator and professional vocational evaluator, part of the registry.
What do you mean by that?
You have to have certain requirements to belong to the registry of professional vocational evaluators, certain coursework and experience.
How long have you been practicing?
Practicing vocational assessment and vocational services for probably 32 years. I've been in private practice this is my 7th year, but in all the years before, I've worked in some capacity of vocational evaluation, assessment, and vocational services, job placement, job coaching, job development, and vocational program development.
So you have a private practice. What's the name of your practice?
Vocation Validation LLC.
And
Tell us about the clientele that you serve.
Serve all disability groups, all ages from 14 up to 60, probably 9. It's probably been the oldest. And all disability groups, substance addiction, physical limitations, learning disabilities, transition, persons with autism, mental health diagnoses. There are certain areas that I assess for all individuals that I serve, and then I just use different methods. So I assess everybody's interests, and I do express, tested, and demonstrated for all these areas. So interest, learning style, academics, aptitude, dexterity. We'll have, depending on the individual, their interests and their abilities, we'll have them do simulated work tasks related to their interests or to help them in exploration or determination of interest. I will also have them do, depending on their ability, career exploration. But I have different levels of each of the areas that I need to assess or address. So I make sure that I'm able to serve non-readers, even non-verbal, to individuals who have college degrees.
Do you use commercial work samples?
I have some commercial work samples, but because the type of assessments I travel to different sites, so they're hard to travel with. So I primarily use evaluator designed simulated work tasks. And I have a wide variety of those, and if somebody is interested in something that I don't have, I will contact a colleague to borrow an assessment tool that they have, or I will create.
When you say a simulated work task, are you talking about work samples that have been designed, locally developed based on a job analysis with locally developed norms?
No, when I'm talking simulated evaluator design, simulated tasks, and that's why they're referred to as simulated tasks and not work samples, because I will develop a snippet of a job task that somebody may perform in a career cluster or job. It's not formally normed. There's no job analysis, but it's skills that somebody needs.
Do you feel like that's an accurate measure for you to use?
For what I'm looking for that individual, if they're able to measure to a 16th of an inch, or do dry and liquid measurement, or their typing speed, or if they can stand while they're using a blow dryer and curling iron on a mannequin head, it gives me the information that I need. The norms, there is a purpose for the norms, but depending on the person's ability, experience, I just sometimes feel that it's better to kind of give them, okay, I'm interested in auto mechanics, but they've never done auto mechanics before, so I'll have either a very dirty lawnmower engine or a carburetor, and I'll have them take it apart, so I'm seeing if they can use the tools, seeing if they mind getting their hands dirty, because sometimes they don't even have an idea of what it is. So it gives me useful information, and it gives the client useful information.
Okay.
As a private practitioner, commercially designed work samples are very expensive. And they could be cumbersome to travel with. So while it would be great to have commercially designed work samples for everything, it's just not logistically possible.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that you use a lot of tools and assessments. Do you have you mentioned you start with interest. Is there a protocol in how you start the whole process with individuals? So where do you get your referrals from? How does that work from start to finish?
I primarily get my referrals from Maryland State Rehabilitation Services. So they will send me a referral packet, a referral form. There's certain paperwork, background documentation that they're required to send, and they're required to send it 2 weeks before the assessment dates. And then letters have to be sent to the clients, and phone calls have to be made to confirm their attendance and to give them a little bit of information, because they're nervous, they don't know who you are, they don't know what to expect, and it's hard for other people to explain what a career assessment is. When the individual comes in, I remind them while they're there, I introduce myself, and if my technician's with me, I try to make them feel at ease, let them know it's, kind of laid back and informal, and
like an orientation.
But in very informal orientation. I will ask them if they have any ideas what they're interested in, just to kind of get a start. And if they don't, it's fine. But I typically start everybody out with filling out a mock job application, because that gives me a lot of information. If they can read, if they can write, their spelling ability. I always put down 2 pencils and an ink pen on the table with the application, so I can see if they know that they should fill out a job application in ink or pencil. Sometimes they'll ask, and I'll answer the question. And I give them a sheet. If they tell me what kind of job, if they tell me a job that they're interested in, to assess their job knowledge about that position, I have a questionnaire that I can either do verbally or have them complete on their own, where they have to answer what they think the salary range is for that position, training requirements, job duties, and working conditions. Because again, a lot of times they say they want a certain job and they don't have any idea about it. And then on that same questionnaire are questions about job seeking and keeping skills. So I'll start out with that, and then I typically will do an interest survey, and I'll select what level interest survey or what type, if it's a pictorial one or one that requires reading. There's a work preference questionnaire that I give them, a very detailed one that I really like. And again, if it's somebody lower reading level, I have some alternatives for that. I try not to do academics right away or first thing, especially if they're transitioning youth, because that usually will turn them off. And I try to intermix hands-on simulated work tasks with the paper pencil activities. And on the first day, I always do the intake interview, where I meet with them privately, and that can last anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half. And along with behavioral observations and my notes from behavioral observations, the intake interview gives you the most useful information.
Access to the vocation validation planner that Lisa referred to in her broadcast, you can find in the weekly readings file and resources folder on Blackboard for this week.